we all have similar values at the tribe of Sandia. It's about sharing those values, about really understanding what value means and what value means to a team, to a tribe. Think about tribe, you think about traditions. At Sandia, we are just starting to build our traditions. A common culture, a culture built with people. It's about people doing things in a different way. It's about thinking in a different way. It's about saying in a different way. At Sandia, we're going to take this industry, tilt it upside down. And when we tilt it right side up, we're going to rebuild the industry through education. So it's about the tribe of Sandia. The heart of Sandia is education. Join our journey, my friends, and we will change your life behind the chair. AC, what's up, brother?
Sammy.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, welcome to Sandia and the infamous Andrew Carruthers for our live stream broadcast just for you. And I'm so excited.
I am too, man. I'm ready to teach. And you know, the Sandia company, this is really what we're all about, is education. And we're so excited to spend the next 90 minutes with you, offering everything that we have. And really our focus tonight, Sam, is all about offering you things that you can immediately use in the salon.
So true, Andrew. As things continue to change, we will promise you that we will continue to change. Tonight, in these 90 minutes, you're going to see Andrew and I both doing haircuts from beginning to end. And we're going to walk you through those cuts step by step. Really excited to share some new freshness with you in terms of what we've been thinking about in terms of the direction of where hair is going to go. So you'll see myself doing a haircut for the first 30 minutes. I'll go off, I'll blow dry it off stage so that you're not bored with the blow dry, but remember, the blow dry is key. I'll come back and review that. Then I'm going to hand you over to Andrew, and Andrew's going to walk you through a haircut for the next 30 minutes. After that, I want to share with you a nice upstyle, natural progression of what I've been doing. Not going to share that with you now verbally, but we'll share with you step by step on how to achieve that.
And guys, we want this to be an interactive process, just as if we were at a hair show. That was kind of the idea behind this.
That's correct.
Like, let's bring the hair show environment right into your living room or into your salons. We know there's salons all over actually the world watching this tonight. Got people from India.
Ireland's in the house.
Yeah.
The UK is in the house. We're so excited. So enjoy this. But most important, if they have questions, what are they going to need to do?
So you're going to hit us up on Twitter. Just find our Twitter account. You can post questions to our Twitter account. You can also go to our Facebook page and hashtag SamViaLive. And we're going to do our best to try and get to those questions, guys.
All right. So what do you say we kick it and we get cranking here and cracking away and doing some hair?
Yeah, I'm going to go grab your first model.
Okay, I'm very excited about that. In this first particular shape you're going to see me do, it's really about medium length hair. But what I want to talk to you in terms of how we're achieving these medium lengths. Right now, a lot of people are talking, Sam, there's these longer layers happening. That's right now. Andrew and I want to take you into 2015 in terms of what we believe is going to be happening, and you're going to start to see us doing things a little bit differently. Andrew, I'm going to see you in 30 minutes.
You got it. See you
after I
guys
cut
soon.
this shape. All right, brother.
Have fun, brother.
All right, so I'm going to obviously pick up a white comb because of the level of shade of color that I've got here. This is Kaylee, and with Kaylee, she wants to maintain her length. How many times have we heard that? But what I want to do is I want to go through, here's what Andrew and I believe what's really going to be happening. For so long, we've been doing undercuts and underlayers underneath. What we want to do is start to take those that concept and turn it upside down. So what we believe is going to be happening in 2015, you're going to see these people, the clients, are going to move from longer layers, they're going to move into shorter layers on top. It kind of ties itself into that pixie story in terms of what's been happening. Now, if you've been following us for a long period of time, we've moved away from horseshoes, we moved into rectangle or umbrella shapes, we moved into rectangles. Lately, I've been going throughout 2014 and talking about diamond shapes. So I moved away from those rectangles, but I want to do something a little bit differently with the diamond, and I'm going to use a diamond. The reason being is because a diamond is not symmetrical. It's got diagonal lines in it, so it's got a little bit of asymmetry going on it from one side to the other side. But more importantly, those diagonal lines, they actually tilt the hair back and away from the face. So the idea is this: when you tend to think about it, things are raw and simple and they're undone yet. The consumer goes back to these grassroots of their rituals, and yet there's more to the story. People want ease. They want a non-challenge. They want that new luxury, but imagine a middle part or imagine a low side part with a shine finish leading to the mid shaft and then the ends with a powdery finish. So you'll see that when I go through and finish this. But let's go through the section for this pattern. What I want to do is I want to get a diamond, but I'm going to, if you've been following me 2014, my diamonds have been on top. I'm going to tilt this diamond way back to the back of the crown. And you'll see why based upon what I'm going to do underneath the diamond. So how do I go through and get the diamond? So I'm going to go through and divide front to back. So we divide front to back from the high point to just above or behind the ear. Your creative choice there. Once we go that, regardless of where the part's at, you can see she has a low left side part. She's kind of slightly off center. Okay, so I'm going to get my section. Now, disregard the part. Just go for your diamond shape. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to locate the middle part. Now, I've been teaching in 2014, go to the middle part of where your part and front to back intersect. At that point, I've been telling you to go to the middle. I'm going to go slightly back now. And the reason being is I want my volume to sit more in the back, not so much more in the front. And you'll see this as it works. So I'm going to divide this into thirds, and I'm going to go to the back third, not in the middle this time. And then I'm going to go right to where that parietal ridge is. So once I've got that diagonal, that first triangle of the right side of the diamond, I'm going to come over to the left side, and I'm going to create the same thing. Right where that parietal ridge is, going to go through. And now you can start to see how I've got, from the top view camera, you can see that I've got a diagonal and a diagonal. Okay, now let's go to the back. How do we find the back of the diamond? The way that we're going to find the back of the diamond is we're going to place our comb right on that crown area. Now I'm going to recommend you take 3 fingers and place 3 fingers right on top of your comb so you ensure that it's flat on top of the crown. Take your index finger, come underneath. This is going to tell you where that change of direction is happening, which is right there. Once we've established that, then I want you to take the point of reference and then you draw right back to center back, and then you're going to come back over the opposite side, and we're going to repeat the same procedure. So we come back to the opposite side, right where that point, middle point of the diamond is. I'm going to go right here and to that other point. It's just a matter of connecting your dots. Now, some of you have had me in classes and I've been talking about the diamond. I've been talking to you about the diamond, but I want you to notice how this diamond sits much further back, and you'll see how it relates to the story of where we feel we're going. Now, once I have that, now I come through and we adjust the balance of the diamond. So I want you to simply adjust that. Release it and make sure that you've got the balance of what you want. And then from this point, disregard wherever the part is. Just disregard that. Look at my diamond. Now, sizes of diamonds. If the diamond is bigger, you're choosing to go a larger diamond because there's lots of density, a lot of hair. Smaller diamond with finer hair. 4-carat diamond for a lot of density. 2 carats, 1 carat for fine hair. Sorry, ladies. I know it's all about the diamonds. But let's go through. Now we're going to isolate this. So we're going to go through and just isolate this. I want to get this out of my way. So I'm going to go through with a little knot on this. Now, for those of you that have been in my hands-on classes or have been at shows or events with me, you've seen me do a diamond, but I want you to watch what I'm going to do to it to kind of incorporate what we believe is going to be happening for the season. Okay, let's talk about that. So what we've been doing is we've been going through and we've been cutting underneath everything shorter. Okay, what we believe is you're going to start to see longer underneath and shorter on the top. And the reason being is because right now you're seeing a lot of longer layers. The next natural progression is they're going to want to go back to that volume and go in and start to take that crown area a little bit shorter. What's the next step? We're going to come through, we're going to pick up, okay, and I'm going to separate my front to back. This is critical, and you'll see why in a moment. Separate these two areas again, and go to the opposite side and separate. Now, tool of choice. I'm going to pick up the blending shear and do this with a blending shear. Now, why? We really believe that there's a sense of rawness and texture that's going on, but you're going to find your texture has a little bit more weight to it. It's not so fine and so thin. It's got some chewy, a little bit chewy edge. So I want to vandalize, if you will, or disrupt the edge. So therefore, I'm going to pick up the blending shear. So we'll pick up our blending shear. We're going to go to the right side because I'm right-handed. I'm now going to go through and just separate this in the center. So I'm just going to go right to where that center is and just separate that. Okay? Now remember, my diamond is slightly off just because of her part, but just take that and separate that. Now in my hand, I'm holding all of her right side. So I'm going to take this, and now watch what I'm going to do with the section. I'm going to go right with the sectioning with the diamond. I'm going to section that. I'm going to bring this up and back to me. So all of this is going to come back, right back to me. I'm going to bring it all the way back. I have the blender in my hand. So look at my degree of elevation. If you looked from the profile view, it's got a diagonal degree of elevation, but I'm really over-directing that back. You over-direct back as far as you want, or extend your left hand depending upon the length that you want. I'm going to come back and use the back of my diamond so that my hand is over the back edge of that diamond. Now once I'm there, I'm just going to take the blending shear. I know I want to release length, okay? So I'm going to go through, and remember, I want it heavier. So normally you see me come through and I'll close a blender and backstroke on it. This season I want my edges a little heavier. I'm going to tilt, and now I'm just going to come in, turn the blending shear over so that blunt blade's on the bottom, and I'm just going to come through and just start to take and create a little bit more of a harder edge. But because I'm going in and using a blender, you're immediately going to get little soft edges inside of that. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Once I'm there, take your blending shear and just come through vertically with it and just start to close, but not taking really wide in terms of opening. When you wide, the blending shear is not going to allow you to pull out. I want you to go in very narrow and come through and pull out. You're going to see that's going to give me the softness that I want on that edge without going in point cutting it. Once again, has a little bit more weight to it. That's my guide. Now I come through, I take another section. So Sam, I notice you're not compressing it. You're taking it section by section. Because I'm a little bit more deliberate with the edge, in terms of the weight that I want to create, I'm going to go section by section. But I still want you to notice my sections are not so fine and so thin. I'm not looking for that precision, that preciseness. A little bit more of a weight edge to it. Once again, bringing it back and over to me. Fold to look for the guide. You can see the guide. Just tilt it so it's down with gravity. Come to the blunt blade, it's right on that guide. And now all I do is just open and close. Don't slide out yet. If you slide out, this shear is not made out to slide. With this amount of hair, it can slide out with a small amount of hair. Once again, look at the weight I'm creating with the blending shear. But rather than coming in and point cutting it and taking that time, remember, we've been talking about how clients want in and they want out. So I'm going to come through now, open very, very, very narrow. Not opening wide, so I can pull out as I come through, and I'm just softening, once again, that edge that I'm creating. Sam, I noticed that you had that last section was in your hand also. Yeah, I'm re-softening things as I go. So the top edge has a lot more softness than that bottom edge. Why? Because it's been hit 2 or 3 times. Last section now. Now watch how I'm going to get a shape with the hairline, and then watch how I'm going to get a degree of shortness happening right around that eye right there. So this comes up. Notice I'm bringing everything up on that right side. All of this comes up to me, right side. All of this, up, up. Leave your back area alone. This comes up, okay? I'm going to need a little bit more moisture, so I'm going to pick up our water bottle. Very proud of our new water bottle, my friends. You know us, we're all about ergonomics. So it's all about how you spray. Look, I just did one squeeze with the hand and the water continues to come out. We've been talking about how we want a sense of looseness and we have to think loose, but I don't want so much water. So I love the water bottle in terms of just give me a small sense of moisture to it. Remember, water's a good idea for us to work with because it gives us the control that we're looking for. Go back to that middle part. Okay, taking the right side up, working with the wide teeth of the comb, a lot more hair that I'm working with, bringing everything right back to me. Next little tip I'm going to give you. Notice how I'm overlapping my fingers. Middle finger coming over the index finger. And the reason being is I want to get nice compression with that because I have a lot of hair. So I want nice tension with that. So I overlap, then I bring it to me, fold, and look for the guide. Now when I fold, watch how I'll see the guide. So I fold, and I'm able to see where I'm at. There it is there, right there. That's where I belong. Reposition, I can see that, eyeball it, great. Right to me, angle of that diamond, right back to me, right back to me. Here comes the guide. There's my guide. There's where I go. Watch the blunt blade. Blunt blade sits on the guide, open and close. Give me a blunt line. Remember, we've talked about this. If you take a blending shear and you just close, you're going to get blunt line inside of a blunt line. But I want a little bit more of a softer edge in everything I'm going to do, but more weight this next season. Okay, coming through. Now I'm going to open just slightly, just slightly, just slightly, just slightly, just slightly. Okay, and I can slide out with that. Now watch what's going to happen. When I release this, I'm going to get this shape that just starts to maintain the length that she has, but now I'm going through and I'm just getting this nice texture of softness in through that top area. Once I've got that, then I'll come back through this and I'll strengthen my edge. So I'll strengthen that out, but I'm not going to do that till the end. Coming to the opposite side. Opposite side, I'm going to take my section, okay, separate front to back again. I'm going to take a slice of what we just cut to the right side of center. That's going to become my starting point for my guide. Okay, going to take my first section. My first section is the angle of the diamond. So I come through right here. There's that section right through. Now we're going to bring this up and then watch how you'll see my guide. Here comes my guide. There's that guide right there on the right front. In my right front, I know where I'm going. Fold, always fold, get to that guide. Tilt the hair down with gravity so you can come in and now just open and close. Open and close, don't pull out, okay? Take away everything that you move. Move your shear left to right so that you ensure you get all the little bits. Remember, you're working with a blending shear. Now come back through, bring back to you, stay square to it. Shear opens ever so slightly. We come through and we slide. Just slide. Remember, this will soften that just slightly. Once I got that, come to my next section. Now this side, not as heavy. Remember, she's a little weaker on this side with her part. Let's bring this back up. So I bring it back up, go into the wide teeth. I've got a mass amount of hair right back up to me looking for my guide. Okay? Going to suggest, once again, work with your moisture. Okay? Moisture, once again, water helps us keep it in control. When you think about today's client, they are looking for simplicity. And as our job as a hairdresser behind the chair, really going to encourage that what we do is we find out what are the problems, okay, and know that you as a hairdresser have the solutions. So look for the problems and have the solutions. We're going to talk to you a little bit in terms of the projections for 2015. You're going to see a lot of things happening, my friends, in terms of it. I think in fashion right now, anything goes. So you're really starting to see how anything goes in fashion. I tend to believe that it's the same thing with hair. Anything goes. It's a matter of discovering the personality and working with those personalities in terms of what you're doing. She's going to have the ability to do that, but you can just start to see how I'm just narrowing that shape out. But then once again, I'll come back in and put strength back into that edge. I don't want those edges so fine and too thin. All right, now we go to the back area. What are we going to do with the back area? I'm going to split right down the center. Okay, I'm going to give you a profile view. Now look at the diamond, that angle of the diamond. So all I'm going to do is just take the angle of the diamond. There's that angle. I'm going to lift this area up, up. And now watch how I've picked up some of this edge as my guide. There's my guide. This comes all the way up and over to me. So for my PBD friends, it seems to you like I might be swelling. There's a small amount of swelling graduation. For my non-PBD friends, disregard what I said. Just follow the degree of elevation and where I'm at. Once again, coming in with the blunt blending shear, and just closing through. Now, Sam, would you do this on natural curly hair? I wouldn't recommend that you take this approach on natural curly hair. You're going to go through and you're going to frizz natural curly hair. But you could certainly layer natural curly hair out this so that you collapse the triangle. But I would only do it maybe underneath. Remember, be careful with detachments in terms of how you're detaching natural curly hair. Now, if it was fine hair, maybe I might just do that first section, and that's it, and leave the weight down here. I really believe that if there's any hair that we should be detaching, it is fine hair. Remember, we've talked to you about it, my friends. If you blend fine hair, then we've just made it finer. Listen to the words we're giving you now. Remember in what we talked about this, Andrew and I and the team at Sandia really believe it's come time to change the industry. We, my friends, are going to change the industry. We're going to take the industry, tilt it upside down. That's right. Tilt it upside down and turn it upside, right side up with some new words, a new way of thinking, a new way of saying, a new way of doing. So take a look. When I'm doing this and the client's seeing me cut like this, the client could possibly get involved in something like this. I've never seen anybody cut hair like this in terms of what you're doing, Sam. So it's a matter of telling your client what and why you're doing what you're doing. So they have a good sense of understanding of it in terms of why you're detaching. I want to create a sense of volume. Now let's give volume another word, frothy. Let's continue to make things frothy. What I want to do is get the conversation going. And we're not suggesting change the language to be cool. What we're doing, my friends, is we're suggesting change the language to get the conversation started again. Remember, if I keep saying, let's texturize your crown, I'm sure the client has heard that many times. But what have we said to him? Let's vandalize your crown. Let's disrupt your crown. If you say, let's vandalize, I think the client might look at you a little strange and say, what did you just say, Sam? But if I say to you, maybe let's disrupt, you choose the word, whether it's vandalize or whether it's disrupt. But what we are encouraging you to do is to change the language, to get the conversation again. Get that client interested and involved in terms of what we're doing. Now watch, I'll come back to that. Now notice how I brought everything up. So it's almost like what we're doing. You're starting to see this a lot. You're starting to see a lot of shapes that represent what we used to refer to as a shag, where things are really that go from short to long, and you're seeing that a lot. So now take a look at what I've created. There's my shortness, my interior leading to the length. So let's take a look at the line that I've created. If I take a look at this line, you can see that what I've done is I've layered this out from short to long. But I've layered it out in a real simple way in terms of the approach. Okay, let's go to the opposite side now. And the opposite side, once again, same thing. Going to come right through and take a diagonal section following the shape of the diamond. So we come through, take your section, take a slice of the side that we've cut. So always following a guide. Texturize on purpose, vandalize on purpose, disrupt on purpose. Your choice, my friends. But let's start to do things again with intent and purpose. What do you say we take the chair back? Take it back, doing things in a different way. Take the chair back and talking a different way. Take the chair back and doing things a different way. Can you imagine how many of us take horseshoe sections out there, and if I'm a client and I move from one salon to another, and all I'm seeing is horseshoe sections, maybe with that little voice that's going through my head as a client is saying, does anybody do anything different? Clients in today's world are looking for an experience. Highly recommend you give them a different experience. When you think about blow-dry bars, that's what's so cool about blow-dry bars. They're giving clients a different experience. They're giving them 10 minutes of heaven at Look Style Society, Sam Via's hair show. We're giving them 10 minutes of heaven. We're going there in there and making it an experience. Making an experience when they sit in your chair. Well, Sam, how do I make it a different experience? Think, say, and do differently. Now watch me just tickle the shape. When we tickle the shape, you can just start to see the narrowness and the sense of graduation that I've been able to create. But at the same time, can you see how I'm maintaining her length? Most cases you might think that this haircut's been done with a razor. But check it out. It's integrity, integrity, integrity. But when you work with a razor, my friends, you use a blade once, integrity. Change the blade, please, so that the client has a great experience with the razor. So super straight hair, flat iron ends have gone by the wayside in favor of these on purpose choppier edges. And that's what I'm getting. I'm getting a choppier edge, but it's much more on purpose. I think gone is for straight flat hair, but will we see it, Sam? Sure you will. You've got those personalities out there that want that. But at the same case, I don't know about you, but I want to tell my clients what's happening before they tell me what's happening. I want to make the suggestion of something in terms of before they make a suggestion, and that's really, really important. So turn the undercut and the underlayer upside down for more of a fresh kind of look this season in terms of what we're doing. Here we go. Let's turn it upside down. Now I have the diamond in my hand. Now watch what I'm going to do. Before I cut this, I'm going to take a clip, okay? New clips that we made for you. Got a new water bottle, new clips, and then take a look at the clip. It has an elastic. What I don't want is I don't want it leaving a mark on the hair. So when you dry cut, it's awesome. It doesn't slip on wet hair. It can hold a mass amount of hair without it slipping. It won't slip out like most clips do. So great new clip for you. Remember, hairdresser making tools for a hairdresser for the right reason. Take a clip. I'm going to clip the underneath all the way down outside. I'm going to clip that underneath. Why? Because what I want to do is I'm now going to detach the top from what I've done underneath. This is the freshness that Andrew and I are talking about. Wait till you see the short little shape that Andrew's going to do. It's really cool in terms of that. Layers are now, they're very well placed this season. I want you to get that. Look at what Sam's doing. Something a little bit different, working around and bringing things up so I'm getting short to long. Whereas if you follow me in the past where the pattern is an easy pattern, whereas before there's been some serious sectioning going on with the pattern. Why? Because you got to remember, in order to detach something, we have to go in there and make sectioning. It's a must. When you don't go in and section, that's when you have the opportunity where you tend to get lost. And we certainly don't want you to get lost. All right, I just had a great question. Are the blending shears facing down because of the ends? Then they get beveled facing downward versus flipping up. Okay, blending shear. I know exactly where you're going. Thank you for that, my dear, on the question. So we've made blending shears for you where they flip up. Okay, you can turn them around. Why? Because we discovered when cutting our bobs, 1 inch above with a blunt blade underneath a section above the length, makes that hair bevel under. If I take it around, turn it around, I go 1 inch above a bob, and the blunt blade is on the outside, as you can see there, and I close, I'll get a blunt line with texture underneath, that will flip up. We've talked to you about where the direction of the teeth, the way it's pointing, it gets that hair to move. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm not concerned about the direction of hair. But what I've discovered is I want the blunt blade on the bottom so the visual hard line is not exposed on the top. Remember, I'm using the blending shear to eliminate the length immediately, but I'm using the blending shear, I'm not weaving it. I'm using it to cut the length, just like I would a normal scissor. Andrew and I have discovered that you can get a very soft, minute, soft edge that's a lot easier for a client to work with than going through and cutting something blunt and then spending another 10 minutes going through and slicing through it or point cutting deep into it. Okay? Diamond. We're going to take a vertical section in the center. Sam, I noticed that this season you're taking more sections than you ever have before. Normally you're compressing things. Yeah, remember, I want things a little bit more chunkier. So because I want it chunkier, I'm taking a little bit more deliberate sections and not so much one big section and compressing it. So once again, just changing the way and the concept and the way that we work. Now where are you going to go with this, Sam? I'm going to take that degree of shortness that I have here. That now is going to become my guide. See that? That became my guide. So now you have a creative choice here, okay? In proportion of length, how much length do you have down here? That would determine the angle that you're going to cut. So if I had a lot more longer hair, I'd probably angle very steep diagonal. So you get length falling in the back. Now, I'm not looking for this to be so bumped inside and doing this season. So I want this angle next season, okay? If I go in and do this, I'm going to get too much of this, and it's going to sink in. It's going to concave too much. I want a little bit more length this season back there. So I find the freshest angle I'm going to be working with is this angle. So let me give you a profile view of that angle. Still working with the blending shear. There's the angle. There's the guide. So I tie this into that front. So I come through, and I just go through, not sliding, and coming through and just taking away my edge. And now watch, when this falls, it's going to fall from short to long. It's a really nice proportion. If I want to go in, now remember, what's going to happen is you're going to see this layering in front. It's going to have a little bit more kind of visual in terms of you being able to see it. So you will see it. And the reason you're going to see it is because this, take a look at it, I might have blended that through, okay, here, but you're going to start to see now that's going back to longer. So there's short to long this way and short to long the opposite way. So you can start to see it has a sense of detachment to it. My next vertical section, okay, take the opposite side, Remember, I'll have 3 sections here. Center first, coming through, wide teeth again. A little bit more mass of hair. Understand your tools in terms of how they work. You can see why I use the clips. Now I come through, pick up what I've just cut, using that as a guide, coming through. There's my length. I'm taking the blunt blade and I'm putting it underneath when I turn it this way. So I don't want that blunt blade on top. Remember, I'm not concerned if it moves under or flips up in this particular case. I'm more concerned about where's that blunt line going to be visible. But Sam, when this falls back, is not the blunt line going to fall and be visible on top? No, it's not a horizontal section. It's a vertical section, okay? You'll see what I'm going to come through and do in a moment once I'm done here, okay? Just to give it a little bit more aggressiveness, and you'll see that in a moment. Once again, coming through and just popping that through, and now I come through on the opposite side. I take my opposite side right up. This comes up, and I bring this to the center. So I pinched everything to the center. Now watch how I'll go back in and I'll release some of the corner. So there's 2 ways I'm going to take this. I'm taking it vertically, and then come back. Watch how I'll come back in and I'll texturize a little bit deeper and go in horizontally at it. So you'll see how that's going to work. Come back through, up. Now I'm coming through very narrow, very narrow, very narrow, very narrow, very narrow. All right, now I'm going to come through, release that. I'm going to pick up a new tool that we're going to be introducing to you. This is our Invisablend shear. It's really unique in terms of what it does. You're seeing that the blades in terms of the teeth are curved in. Then you've got this blade here is dull. It's not as sharp as the teeth are. So what happens is when I close this, you can see it's arced 2 ways. It arches this way, and if you look at it really close, the teeth do this. They do this. So when I close, it pushes the hair. So if I go through and take a look, here's the length, there's the blending shear. So when you cut with the blending shear, you get a sharp edge, you get a gap, then you get another sharp edge, a gap, and another heavy edge like this. Here's what the blending shear does. Scallop, it gives you a scalloped effect, then you get your length. A scalloped effect, then you get your length. A scalloped effect. So therefore, when you work with this, you will not see where the layers start or where they end. So how are you going to work with it, Sam? I'm going to go back into my diamond. I went in vertically. Now I come back in horizontally. So I'm going to come through and I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive. Now watch how this shear works. Take the blunt blade on the bottom. Now look how easy I slide out. Now look how much. I'm not taking out a lot. I just want this to have a little bit of a lighter edge on top. I want that underneath to be a little bit heavier. Once again, a blunt section coming through on my diamond, taking a horizontal section, bringing that up, over directing forward so I maintain length. Now just coming through and just slicing. Sam, is that not what you did with the blending shear? But I'm getting a lot more aggressive. And then remember, this shear is going to give me scallops, where the blending shear just gives me a sense of bluntness. Okay, last section now, last section. Come right through, lifting this up, right forward, over direct forward. Why? Because I want to maintain my length in the back. Now look at, you can almost see the visual heaviness that has inside there. Watch how I'll take that heaviness out, but I'll maintain the sense of length. That heaviness comes out. Loving the blending shear. As a matter of fact, I could see myself doing a whole haircut using a blending shear. But where's it going to help you? Behind the chair. You're going to do a whole haircut, then you'll come back in, pick up your blending shear, and you'll detail it. Not with your blending shear, but you're going to detail it with your Invisablend. That's what's cool about it. Now, tools are done. I'm basically done with my haircut. Now, when I work this, I want you to look at all my degree of shortness I have on top. Now look at the shape that I'm getting here in terms of what you're going to see. This is what Andrew and I feel is going to be happening in terms of going through, tilting things upside down, working with a diamond, in this particular case, bringing everything back, cutting diagonal in the front to the diamond, and then diagonal in the back to the diamond, working with the blender. You're going to love working this way. I'm going to take my beautiful Kaylee off stage. I'm going to blow dry her. I'll be back, and we'll talk about the blow dry. But right now, I can't tell you how proud I am to have this guy on our team. But this man brings a lot to the table. I have a lot of respect for his teaching ability, his knowledge in terms of what he shares. He belongs on this team. He is our educational director. Please welcome Mr. Andrew Carruthers. Stand up, love. Andrew.
Hi, buddy.
Ah, you're going to do something dry.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, we're dry
that.
cutting, buddy.
All right, well, I'll be back in 30 minutes. I'll come back with my blow dry, and we'll share that with him. Have some fun. Get cracking, buddy.
Sounds good. Well, hi, everyone. It's good to see you all again. What What I'd like you to do if you're sitting in a salon right now is I want you to take a second, because you guys just learned a lot of information from Sam. Turn to the person sitting next to you, tell them the most important thing that you just got from that little presentation. Keep talking, because we're listening. All right, so hopefully you got a lot out of it, and you're probably still chatting away, and that's okay. So in this particular haircut, what I really want to help with is I want to help with this thought of that modern haircutting can be a little tricky. And so what I did is I started out with my model here, Madison, and I cut something that most of you are probably fairly familiar with, a simple, just beautiful graduated bob. Now, most of you probably can look at this and think, yeah, I can cut that style of haircut. What happens is a lot of times when we look at these newer modern haircuts that maybe have a different texture, a different approach to them, it gets a little intimidating because it's outside of our comfort zone. What I want to do is I want you to want to be able to show you that so often it's actually built off of something classic that you already know how to do, and all it's going to take is learning a couple fresh techniques to take something really classic, really foundational, and really wake it up and make it very modern. So one of the things that Sam was talking about is texture is different right now. We're not thinning hair, we're deliberately adding texture, and we're allowing there to be a little bit more weight to the haircut. This haircut is all about weight, and I don't want to destroy the overall shape of it, I want to build off of it. So what I'm going to show you is a texturizing technique that's going to add visual texture without making it feel thinner, and it's actually going to build with the shape built into the haircut. So let me just give you a brief overview of what I did do in the haircut, because we're going to follow similar processes. So through the back, I started with just a simple, sectioning. I went from the occipital to the top of the ear, and everything below that was just simple vertical sections, over-directed back to the previously cut section to give myself a little bit of length as I came forward. After I finished the underneath, from that division line from the kind of mid-occipital point to the top of the ear, we just continued forward with horizontal sections, and we built a graduation to mirror the underneath graduation. The vertical sections here were held at a 45-degree angle, and so the horizontal sections above those were again held at a 45-degree angle, which gives me that buildup of weight and that nice roundness in the haircut. So to texturize this, we're going to use similar sectioning. I'm going to start here on the side, and I'm going to use a horizontal section to begin my texturizing. Now, when we talk about texturizing, the section that we take is just as important as the section we take to create the actual haircut. And the reason for that is different section angles are going to give you different results. If you want to know more about that, there's actually a fantastic video that we did on YouTube, Sam Via Hair on YouTube, and you can find out more about different section angles and what they do within the haircut. A horizontal section, what a horizontal section does better than most is it creates visual texture. If you think about it, on a horizontal section, anything I do here as it lays down is going to be visible. If I did that same technique in a vertical section, all that hair piles on top of each other, yeah? And so we mask a lot of that texture that we put in. So when we want visual texture, a horizontal section is actually going to be our most beneficial. So I'm going to take that section, I'm going to elevate it at my 45 degrees. Most of this texture, I actually want to see more through the ends. I'm not going to get real deep into it, but I do want to see visual texture. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to create a peak and then a valley. And I'm not going to overdo this. I'm just going to do a few in this section. And what I'm trying to do is just create a nice disrupted texture through these ends where Sam uses the word vandalize, which I think is such a fun word to use. And it's something that kind of wakes our clients up. I'm going to vandalize your hair. You're going to do what to my hair? Excuse me? And that's definitely going to wake up the conversation. And a lot of times, like he said, that's what we need to do as hairdressers. We need to wake up the conversation by saying something fresh to them. On this next horizontal section, what I want to be careful to do, where Sam was actually incorporating his sections as he texturized, I want to be careful to not incorporate the previously cut section. Because if you can imagine, if I picked up all that underneath hair when I take this next section, I'm going to over texturize those ends, and I'm going to lose that really dramatic separation. Now I'm still staying at a 45-degree angle. Why? Because I still want to have graduation in the shape. One thing we have to realize, guys, is as we add texture to the haircut, I don't care if you're using a blending shear, a straight shear, point cutting, slicing, we have to realize we're putting points of reference within our shape. So if I built this nice graduation, but then I come back in and my texture that I build on the inside of the shape is more of a layer, and it's collapsing weight where I don't want the weight to be collapsed, I'm taking away from the overall shape of the haircut. So where I'm putting my texturizing in is in the same way that I put it into the actual haircut so that it follows the haircut. I hope that makes sense, because that's a really, really important thing to understand. I think texturizing a lot of times turns into something that we don't put a lot of thought process into. It becomes something where we go onto autopilot and we start talking about their dog, their failing marriage. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully not that. But we go into this mode as hairdressers where we're just kind of chatting and we're not being mindful of what we're doing. And I think that's the really important thing as hairdressers, is that everything we do has a mindful approach to it. So again, just working up in those horizontal sections, keeping my elevation low. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, Andrew, that's no longer 45 degrees, because the shape of her head is working away from me. Degrees of elevation can be calculated in a lot of different ways, guys. We can calculate it from the actual shape of the head. We can also use points of reference, which means the walls or the floors. So let's take 90 degrees, for instance. We can do 90 degrees horizontal, which means that the elevation would be straight, flat with the floor on every section. It doesn't matter the shape of the haircut or the shape of her head. We could do 90 degrees vertical, which means everything is going to be elevated vertically, straight up and down, parallel with the wall. The other way we can do it is 90 degrees from the actual head shape, which means you're actually following 90 degrees to the head, almost like the rays of a sun. So same exact thing can happen with 45 degrees. Right now I'm working 45 degrees from vertical, which is going to give me a heavier shape than if I did 45 degrees from the head shape. If I do 45 degrees from the head shape, which is absolutely a good way to do it in times, I'm just going to have a much more rounded, lighter shape. Does that make sense? All right. So we're continuing up with our horizontal sections. And we're just creating that disrupted movement in the hair. Now, one of the things that we're noticing too is that texture is making such a huge comeback. We're going away from the days of really, really straight ironed hair, and hair moves and it has personality and life to it. And a lot of people are reaching for these natural textures. Now, those natural textures a lot of times aren't actually natural, are they? They're techniques that we create as hairdressers to artificially infuse natural looking texture into the hair. And so our haircuts need to mirror that. Because a really overly blunt bob, if she wants to put in, a sleeker iron wave, is not probably going to work as well. It's going to need some texture to it. And by the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about with the sleeker iron wave, again, go to the YouTubes, go look at Sandia hair on YouTube, and you can find out how to create a really natural looking wave with a sleeker iron. It's a really easy technique that I use a lot behind the chair. Now, before I move any further, what I want to do is I want to show you the before and after. So, starting from the classic side, I actually didn't even point cut this because I really wanted to show you a visual difference. On this side, you can see how really nice and pretty and soft and solid it is. As we come to this side, just that simple change of adding the visual texture, do you see the difference there? It's a completely different haircut at this point. And it has a similar approach, just a different texture. So again, guys, the whole point of this is to get your mind thinking. You know how to do this. It's just adapting the technique that you use. Now, what if I just wanted to get this from the very beginning? Maybe I wouldn't have went at it with such a blunt technique. Could I really remove the hair in a similar technique that I'm using right now? Yeah, absolutely, I could. I could do something where I was really just coming in and deep point cutting the length away. So again, I want to maintain that 45 degree of elevation, work those horizontal sections, and also I want to be careful that I'm not going deeper and deeper into the hair strand with each section, because that would actually defeat a lot of what I'm doing with the elevation. At 45 degrees of elevation, if I came in and went really deep in here, that's going to change where that point lies, and it's going to change the weight balance. When I first started doing hair, it was late 90s, early 2000s, and the style at that point was really heavily texturized. You know, it was actually very almost thinned out on the ends. Everything was straight iron to death. And we were doing a lot of what Sam and I are talking about now, where we're flipping these things upside down, where there's a lot of surface texture. And I think, you know, like he said, that's really what we're going to start moving towards, is we're going to move away from so much short undercutting. It's not like it's going to disappear, but we're going to see the trend start to come up to the surface. I think it's important to really talk about, too, the difference between trend and style, because when it comes to trend, you only have a certain part of your clientele that wants to be trendy. You have a lot of your clientele that wants to be stylish, and there's a huge difference between that. So your clients that want to be stylish, they want to have a piece of what is trend in their hair. Whereas your clients that want to be trendy, they want the most dramatic version of it. So a lot of what we do is we teach you the techniques on trend, and then you need to go in and you need to determine how do you make that stylish for your clientele. And a lot of that's going to change based on neighborhood, guys. What happens in Paducah, I think it's Illinois, is maybe going to be different than Manhattan. I think you guys would agree with that. And realistically, if you come to a hair show and you learn some crazy detached, you know, aggressive haircut that might go over well in Seattle, and you come home to middle of nowhere Iowa and you put it on the little cute grandma that you're usually just doing shampoo sets on, you might start losing clientele because they're going to think you're crazy. But what you can do is you can say, hey, Edith, I was just at this hair show and I learned a new technique, or I just watched Sam and Andrew on Sam Via Live and I learned this new technique. What I'd love to do is I'd love to bring a little bit of this technique into the haircut we've been doing for the last 40 years. And what that's going to do is it's going to change her experience, like Sam was talking to you guys about. And so much of hairdressing is in that experience. What we know is that if you don't change, your client will change. And that means they're going to change hairdressers. If they feel like you're not changing and adapting, they're going to find someone that will, if that's what they want. And honestly, guys, we know the psychology behind this because they always come in and they say, I want something different. However, you can't take any length off, I don't want any layers, and I need it to be collarbone length. Okay, so where do I have to go? Where I have to go is to introduce new techniques to get the same haircut that I've given them for 10 years. There's a thing that's called performance studies. What performance studies tells us is that subconsciously, your clientele is actually absorbing everything around them. It's how your salon smells, it's how it looks, it's the sound of the music, how loud the music is, how are you dressed, is your makeup done? All of these things are actually registering, and in some way they're kind of judging based on those experiences. But it's actually all subconscious, which is the crazy part. It's not actually registering in their conscious part of their mind. Now, again, kind of like Sam said, it's not like they literally are going through and saying, oh gosh, she's putting a horseshoe section on my head again. That's not what logically is going through her head. But that subconscious mind that's always picking up on things is having the same experience that she's had time and time again. Now, you use a different technique, you use a different sectioning pattern, you say or you do something different, and now they have a fresh perspective. That subconscious kicks in like, oh, okay, this is different. And it gets them excited about you as a hairdresser. And we know that that's a lot, again, of why people leave their hairdresser, is they just get kind of bored. We hear it a lot where someone comes in and they say, I loved my last hairdresser. She was my best friend. But, and it always is followed by something like, she never gave me what I want. She never changed. She doesn't go to classes like you guys do. And congratulations, by the way, on being part of our class tonight, because you're part of a very, very small piece of our industry that continues to invest in their education. And guess what? 20% of our industry makes 80% of the income. What we know is the people like you that invest into their education are that 20%. So give yourself a little pat on the back for that. So again, we're just working in those horizontal sections, doing that point cut, keeping my elevation at that 45. And remember, we're talking about 45 degrees from a vertical aspect, not from the head shape, because we want to leave weight to it. Now, what's cool is you can really start to see what just simply using that texturizing technique did to this haircut. It's really altered it. So without even changing the actual layering pattern, anything else except for just the way I textured it, we now have a really cool modern version of this graduated bob that many of us have done on a lot of our clients. Now what's cool about this too is this doesn't have an age to it. This could sit on, you know, Madison here is 22 years old and she's just adorable, and she can rock this because it has a little bit of a cute factor and it has a little bit of an irony almost to it, you know, putting a classic shape on someone young like this. Now, I have ladies that come to me, and to be totally honest, most of my clientele lives more in that 40 to 60 range, and they're professional women. Could a professional woman wear this haircut? Yes, absolutely. So this is how we keep them feeling fresh and very modern. So the second technique that I want to share with you is now how to put in this sense of surface detachment. And this is what we're talking about. The focus is coming away from underneath, away from the undercut, and it's coming to the upper surface. I can't stress this enough. Detachment in haircutting is not a trend. It is not based in trend. It is actually a technique that we use in hairdressing. So for you to be a very well-rounded hairdresser, you need to understand how to use detachment in your haircuts. And what we mean by detachment is this hair is sitting next to something that is detached from. That might mean that the hair underneath is undercut or underlayered, where the upper surface is laying over top of a shorter piece of hair. And now what we're talking about is what was happening in that late 90s, early 2000s era, where we have a shorter piece existing above a detached longer piece, which is going to give focal points on the upper surface of the haircut. So this is a difference from what's been happening lately in hairdressing. So we have a great question because this is the time of year for it. How do we get rid of static when we're cutting dry? And this is a huge challenge, guys. We're filming in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. There is not a lick of humidity in the air in this place. I put lotion all over myself this morning and I'm still white. So this is definitely the environment that we run into, and probably part of the reason that it came up is that you're seeing that I am getting a little bit of static off of her hair. So there's a couple reasons for static, and most of it's lack of moisture. So as we shift into different times of year, it's really important to adapt the product choice that we use. Even though she's got a finer texture of hair, if I don't up the amount of moisture, build in some more oils into her product prescription, I'm going to face this static challenge. I might be shooting myself in the foot, but I know that there are some products coming out from a few different companies, Redken being one of them, that is actually specifically for this. And I apologize, I don't know if it's out right this moment or not, but I know that it's coming out, and it's a sheet actually that you can use to reduce static in the hair. So keep your eye out for that. Thank you, Redken, for doing that, because as a hairdresser, I need that product. Hint, hint, send me a box. All right, so now we're going to move into this detachment on the upper surface. There's a billion different ways to do these detachments. Sam's been talking a lot about diamonds, and diamonds are actually a very, very fun way to do these sectioning patterns. Because what's cool about a diamond is you can take it in so many different ways. A diamond, can be very irregular too. Let's say I want to have a lot more of this included in front of the ear, included in my detachment. I could make my diamond shape sit very far forward and then have a long point up into the crown area and use that as my detachment. Let's say I want more of it to sit behind the ear. I could start here again and drop that down more behind the ear, and then close that off right at the top of the crown area. And that's a completely different diamond shape. So you can adjust that diamond shape based on where you really want the weight to be distributed. Now what I want to see is I want to see pieces and texture and movement really sitting mainly on the upper surface. I actually don't want my detachment to go too far down into this haircut. So what I'm going to do is actually use 2 diamonds. I'm going to use a very small diamond right up here on the upper surface. That does point a little bit more down, almost to just in front of the ear. And what I'm looking for as I comb this out is I'm looking for, do I have a nice distribution of hair? Do I have enough hair below it to keep the density I want? And actually, it's not quite what I want. So I'm going to skinny up that piece of the diamond just a bit, because I want this to be subtle, but I want it to have a pretty strong visual impact. And that, to me, feels like a better distribution, because what I want is just some hairs surfing across the top of it. To create my other side of the diamond, again, diamonds don't always have to be symmetrical. I'm going to come to this other side, and because I don't want to take too much weight off of this side, I'm really only bringing that down just a tiny bit into my opposite side. I'm going to take this entire piece, and I'm going to use the reversible blending shear like Sam was, because again, I want to create something that has a lot of softness to it. And again, speaking about a different experience, even just using a different tool is going to give your client a different experience. And I'm going to over-direct this back. Actually, let me give you a little more of a profile view on that. I'm going to over-direct this back so that I'm sitting on top of the back point of that diamond there. And what I'm going to do is I'm now going to create a V shape. Now again, because this is on the upper surface and it's going to have so much texture, kind of like Sam was talking to you guys about earlier, I don't have to be quite as concerned with the direction of the teeth, because it's not going to dictate enough that it's going to make or break the overall direction of how this hair falls. Now, by over-directing back, that puts my shortness where? Yeah, right back here above the high point of the head. So as it travels forward, it's building length, and my degree of shortness is right there at that high point. So what do you think I'm going to do back here to complement it? Good, it's another diamond. So I'm going to take just from the point that I left off, and then drop another little diamond right here in that crown area. I'm gonna go just a touch wider with the diamond. And it looks like we have a question from online again. They're just asking which of the blending shears that I'm using. This is the Signature Series reversible blending shear. It looks a little different because Sam likes to remove his tangs. So this one doesn't have the tangs screwed in, and that's why we made them something that you can pull out, guys, so that you have the ability to decide. We're not putting a permanent tang there so that you can play with how you like your shear set up. If you haven't tried these shears, guys, you really got to play with them, because this shear makes this type of work much, much easier than a traditional blending shear. A traditional blending shear that only takes about 15 to 20% away, you're going to have to make a lot of additional cuts. So now I'm going to take that diamond that's in the crown. I apologize. Let me turn her around so you can see that diamond. You can see it's sitting more right in the center of the crown. I'm going to bring that forward now. I'm going to over-direct forward. Now again, why would I do that? Because I want that shortness here over top of the high point. And you can see, actually, some of this stuff is falling away at the bottom of my diamond. It's fine. It's not a big deal, because I don't want to go too short through that. Same thing here. We're going to create our V shape with the reversible blending shear. And again, the reason for that is I want the shortest point there in the center above the high point, and then I want length coming out to the outsides. That helps to keep it blended. That's actually a question that we get pretty often is, you know, how do I work with these types of detachments and not make it look so detached? If you're worried about that, if you take those detachments in more of a V shape where you're building length towards the outside, it's going to give you more of a blend out to your outside edges, because these aren't meant to blend together as much. To finish this, I'm actually going to use the Movability 05. It's a fantastic product from Redken. It has enough control without being overly heavy. And where Madison does have a lot of hair, but she has a fine texture, the Movability 05 is going to be a great choice. And actually, before I put that in, I'm going to have one of my friends just offset, if they don't mind grabbing me the Fashion Wave 07, because I want to introduce you guys to that product as well. I've been using a lot of salt sprays lately, and so thank you. I want to bring this into this haircut because sea salt sprays are one of my favorite things. The texture that they bring out is very, very modern. It's more of a matte finish, and it gives it a little bit of grit. The Fashion Wave 07, if you listen, it sounds like I'm shaking a paint can. It's really important that you get these pieces mixed together really well, so shake it like a Polaroid picture. We're going to start to shake her hair, and I'm going to mist. Shake, mist. And what that shake and mist does is it makes sure that I'm distributing product all throughout the hair. And what it's going to create is kind of like she got out of the ocean, went and lay down on her towel, let it just air dry, laying around, being a beach bum. And it's that look that so many girls want, but don't have naturally. And again, guys, our job is to follow with the technique that helps to give them that natural texture, even if it does have to be in an artificial manner. Now, with her hair, she does have just a little natural wave. Well, actually, you have a ton of natural curl, I forgot. And so that natural curl, I could really wake up if I went in and actually put quite a bit of this, maybe even mixed a little bit of just water into it, so that I got more of her natural wave to wake up and really build on that texture. So what we end up with is something that has a completely different look, something very modern, built on a very classic shape. So, guys, I really hope that you learned a lot in my segment today. You know, and again, I just want to remind you, this was built off of something that I know that you can do. Try out these techniques and make sure that you give your clients something fresh that they haven't seen before, even if it is something that you've done before. Just twist your technique, give them a new experience. So stand up, Madison, and just give them a little twirl around. So guys, I'm going to step off camera with my model Madison. I'm going to bring Sammy back on. So Sammy, come on over.
Actually, Andrew, I just love what you just did. Let's pose them right here by the chairs.
Yeah, come on over.
All right, here's the finished result of the blow dry. And Andrew, I love that because look at the story that Andrew created here in terms of, you got that degree of shortness on the top. Remember, the story's about tilting things upside down. Take your undercuts and your underlayers and start to really create the degree of shortness up in that top area. Now you can see the shape that I've been able to create here. My product of choice was working with pillow-proof primer. That's what I blow dry. It speeds up the process of blow drying. Then I went through and used velvet gelatine. Then I finished it off with Wax Blast 10. Andrew, hand me a blow dryer there for me, my friend. Wax Blast 10. Andrew and I love it. But what I love about it, guys, and you've seen me do this before, but I just love how you can pop the texture back in with your Wax Blast 10 and working with a blow dryer, and then come back and just work with your hands. But take a look at all the texture that I've been able to create just going through and working with a little diamond shape right into that top area. But what's cool is how we work with that diamond shape. And Andrew, I noticed you talked about a diamond. That's awesome, brother.
Yeah, and you know, what I was talking to him about, Sam, is that diamonds don't always have to even be symmetrical. And just because we're doing diamond shapes doesn't mean you can only put one diamond on it. So we used two diamonds that were a little asymmetrical from each other.
Yeah, so look at the shapes that we created for you in terms of how you can use them. Remember now, we're just the messengers. Just giving you a message, trying to light a fire not underneath you, but light a fire inside of you to think, say, and do differently. So we're going to let the models go back off. We'll bring them back out at the end so you can once again see them at the end. Andrew, if you feel like you want to play with their finishes and create something a little bit different, feel free to do that so we can create some double identity.
Cool.
Your call, buddy. If you want to leave them like that, let's leave them like that.
Okay.
So Andrew's going to take them off, and I'm going to do some long hair for you. So let's bring off Ember. Off you go, love.
Thank you.
Okay, and let's bring out Ember. Now, let's talk about some long hair. What I want to do with long hair is I want to go through, and I'm really inspired by the Game of Thrones. It's really been something that I've been inspired by. I think that's what really got me back into braiding. And I remember back in the 80s, I was really into braiding and doing that. But I think at Fashion Week, Geneva Cowan and I, the artistic director for Sandia, who happens to be my personal muse, love Geneva in terms of what she brings to the table creatively to the Sandia brand. But we talked about in terms of braided parts, and we're seeing that a lot. You're going to see that. That adds character to it. But then what do you do to make something different in terms of that? And lately in the past, I've been giving you what's known as a slip tie. So what I want to do is give you the slip tie, but do it a little bit differently. So if you've been following me in 2014 and you follow us for years, it's just a natural progression where one thing leads us into another, it leads us into another. We're not reinventing the wheel here. I think it's been reinvented a number of times. But it's all in terms of how you prep the long hair. I want you to notice that this top surface is smooth. But underneath, now I'm going through and I'm alternating my texture iron. So I'm still using the texture iron. So you'll see there's intermixed hair that's textured, and there's intermixed hair that's straight. So what we did was we went in, I wanted this top surface nice and smooth. So you're seeing leather intermixed with a different fabric. So you're seeing two fabrics that mix together. What do I see? I see a shine finish and a matte finish working together. So when we're working with the texture iron, we didn't go through on the top area. But what we did do is go underneath vertically. But what we did was we alternated. We did the texture iron from base to ends, then we left the next section alone, then we took the next section, base to ends, so we alternated our sections. It just gives it a sense of character. Sam, why would you do that? I still want what the texture iron gives me in terms of making it a little bit more pliability, giving it more pliability, making it easier to work with. Okay, let's go through. I'm going to work with my Redken Movability 05 from the Flex category. Now, when I think of Flex, a product that's very flexible. Think about a paste and a cream working together. I use my Movability 05, 05 being the strength. I'll use this on my long hair. Mess around 10, I'll use that on my medium length hair. Shape Factor 22 within the Flex category, I'll work that on short hair. So pick up your product accordingly in terms of the end result that you want. So I'm going to take this, and I find when I work with my long hairs, you can see it's a nice, smooth, creamy paste. I'm going to take a large amount, but I'm going to work with it in my hands almost like a hand lotion. Okay, so I'm going to go through. Now watch what we're going to do. What I want to do is I want to come through, and I'm going to take a tail comb, and I'm going to take a square section right here on the side area. So I'm going to go right where that parietal ridge is, take a slice horizontally. Then when I get to that ear area, right when I get to that ear area, I'm going to take it and I'm going to go vertically down, okay? Right there, just like that. So I'm going to take this first section and I'm going to pull, so that I get this back and away from her, I'm not going to take it up here and pull this back. I'm going to let this section float the hair right behind her ear. So I'm going to take this, and can you see that acts almost like a band in terms of securing this particular section. Going to comb that through. Okay, now look what I've done. So that acts almost like a band there. I'm going to work and start to take just an inside plait in terms of what I did, and I'm going to start to tie it up above here. And you'll see how it's just everything that we do, natural progression again in terms of the slip tie. So we come through. I'm going to comb through that. Okay. All right, got that nice and combed through. Once I've got that combed through, then I'm going to hand this off to my client, and I'm working my Movability 05 on that. Think of Movability 05 almost like a binding product when you're going through and you're working with your braids. So you can just start to see how that hair is gathering from the product that's on my hands. I'm going to hand that off to Ember here, who I happen to call Khaleesi. So I come through right here. I go right on that parietal ridge. Okay, take a square section, horizontal section. I get to that ear. I come right down, square to it, right behind the ear there. Okay, once I've got that section, this section acts almost as my tie, bringing that back and opening up her face. Once again, combing through that. Okay, combing through what I've gone through on top, combing that down, so I get that nice and tight where I want that to sit, right there. Okay, now I'm going to come back, take the strand that's what she has. I'm going to take that strand from her, take my tail comb, release that. I'm going to bring this back now, and once again, pulling on that and keeping it nice and tight. Now, once I'm here, let's turn and give you a profile view of what we have. Okay, so I'm going to work with this so that I create a very interesting visual pattern in the back. When you braid, I want you to start to think about doing things in terms of what the client can't do, or maybe but they can do, because I've been teaching you how to work with two strands and do a slip tie and tying knots and those types of things. Nothing new, just really sharing with you things that people have inspired me with. But with that, it's really simple to do because it's two sections. But it really, what's interesting about it is the visual character that you get from that. Now watch what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a square back view of this, about a 3/4 view there, and I'm going to go down on my knees because I want you to see how this works. Now I've got my braid slightly tilted, no worries, okay? So I'll come over here, right where I want that to sit. I'm going to slightly tilt this look in the back area. Okay, what do you mean by tilt, Sam? I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to kind of asymmetrically set it off to one side. Once again, get rid of the word asymmetrical, and what do you say we start to say? Let's tilt your haircut. Let's tilt your up style. Okay, now watch what I'm going to do. I'm just going to come through, just as we shared with you in the past, I'm just going to do a slip tie and tie that, and I'm going to place this right on top of that elastic there. Now, here's what's going to be different. I'm going to take all of this, I'm going to move it to the right side, and I'm going to combine that. So I'm going to merge those two sections together to make one section. Now I'm going to slice on the left side. I'm just going to take a vertical slice, just come right there. I just pinch that hair, I move it over here. Okay, I move it right to the area where I want. Now, I want what I have merged together, I want this season to come underneath. Then I'm going to come through, palm that, come through, there's my value, grab that and pull that through. Okay, and then I'm just going to tie again. Okay, covering up that knot. Now I'm going to merge these two together. Okay, now I'm going to go to my right side. Okay, I'm going to take a section here, just a slice. Okay, tickle, 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 getting my tangles out. And once again, the merged section goes underneath. What I've been teaching in the past, maybe, if you've been following Sam, if you haven't been to any of our classes, you got to come to the classes. When Redkin and Sam V are in the house, please, come to the classes. We're going to give you information that you can work with. Now watch. I'm going to take this, and now I'm going to take that underneath. That always goes underneath. Okay, I'm going to come through. Now this needs to loop through. So I'm going to take my value right through. I'm going to put this inside and bring that through. And then I'm just going to simply tie right there. Now all of this section merges together. Roll it up set it up so you get this kind of effect to it. Now we come through, combine these two sections together. When you braid, it's all about rhythm. Okay, I'm not going to talk to you about steps. It's just simple rhythm. So I'm going to merge, I'm going to palm. I'm going to slice on the opposite side. Okay, I bring this section up and over to me. Now, which section goes under? Which section goes under? That's correct, the merge. So now I go underneath. Now, which section's going to loop? It's always what you've merged. So come through with your value first. Palm, value, inside, loop, and tie. Okay, and tie. Now watch, when you tie, turn it. See how I'm turning that? So I turn that. Now I come through, I merge again. So every section I take, I'm coming through and I merge. Take your paddle brush, come through, and just comb through. Now I'm going to ask Ember, to bring her right hand up. Okay, bring your right hand up. She's going to hold this. Okay, now I'm having her hold that because I want some more movability 05. Product is not an option, it is a necessity. And the product I'm talking about is Redken. That's our favorite at Sandia. So we're coming through, I'm going to emulsify again. What I want is I want a little bit more product to bind these sections together and keep it together. So I come through, okay, and now I turn that, roll it so it sits underneath. So what you tied sits on top, You want that on top. Let's merge. Which side did I pull over? Left. Let's go to the right. Simply just slice. When you're slicing, I'm going to suggest you always slice the same amount of hair. So you keep your ties. Each time as you work, it's going to get thicker. So I come through now, okay? Going to come underneath. My merge goes underneath, okay? I'm going to loop that through, so I'm going to palm. I'm going to bring my value through. I grab and I pull through. Just pull that through. Okay, now simply tie. And when you tie, watch what happens, tie, but now kick that back over. See how once I tie, I don't want that to sit like that. I want this to fold itself down. So fold it down. And you can just start to see the interesting pattern that you're getting. So I come through again, merge, left side. And now look how things are tilting. So I come back through, real simple, once again, rhythm. Okay, merge goes underneath. Once you're there, palm controls that. See, I palm that. Bring your value through. What you merge together comes up and over the top. It loops through, and we tie. Now, I want you to fold that down again. So if I saw this walking around, I would certainly go around and say, oh my gosh, how did you do that? That's exactly what we want the clients saying. I want them going out, having visual value, that people see it and they go up to and say, oh my gosh, how'd you do that? And they're probably going to say, oh my gosh, there's a braid parade going on at Shear Art. That's right, there's a braid parade going on at Sandia's hair show. So it's really important now. Watch, merge those two together. Now, where did I slice? On the left side, so let's slice on the right side. And then notice the interesting how it just leans, it doesn't sit in the center. So if you want it to sit in the center, you could certainly make it sit in the center, but it's in terms of where do you want it to be. Come through, I pull through, and I tie. Okay, bringing that right through, that section through. Don't worry about how many layers you have and things like that. Just let it happen. Okay, now watch. Turn that over. See, I keep turning things over. Okay, now I come through, I'm here. Take the left side again. Here. This comes over. Left side now, I'm on the left. My merge goes underneath. So I take this underneath. Now, I need to palm this, get your hole, come through, there's my value, add, pull through your double, okay? I want you to tie it nice and tight, okay? Remember, turn it back over so you get that same pattern coming through. Okay, hold here, okay? Now, let's take my right side, I go my right, can't forget your rhythm, I'm on the right side. Okay, my merge goes under. So Sam, are you saying that every time you merge a section, that goes under and that's what gets pulled through? Absolutely right. That's the one thing I want you to remember on the rhythm on this. So this goes underneath. Okay, once I get that underneath, now I need to get that through. So I want you, that's underneath. So this is my value, so palm that with your left hand. Left hand goes value. I pull that through, stuff it in, okay? And just beautiful, beautiful hair that she has. I really want to thank Devin Fox was our lead colorist this weekend, who did the color, and obviously we're working with Redken color, but he gave me this beautiful, beautiful Khaleesi blonde, I love to call it. But it's actually, I mean, just incredible in terms of how he was able to get this color. If you want to know the formula, just text us a question and we'll get it back to you and we'll place it up on Facebook. Left side now. So I'm going to do the left side. These two merge on the right. Okay, a couple more sections to go. Underneath, okay. Palm, got to bring my value through. There's my value. Double comes through, okay. Bring it through, and tie, okay. Now start to turn. Place it the way you want to place. My last section now. Come through, okay. My value, my merge goes underneath, okay. Find that hole, okay. There it is there. So now I'm going to palm this. See how I palm that to control that. Here comes my value. Bring it through and tie. And remember, when you tie, my friends, tie very, very, very tight. All right, now I'm going to start to finish it. I'm going to start to fold and pin. Now, when I get out here, there's so many things that you could do in terms of when you get out here, in terms of what you're going to do with it. All I'm simply going to do is take an elastic. I got one, okay? Take an elastic. Okay, and I suggest you go ahead and elastic this. So I'm going to come through, put an elastic on that. Okay, you can see how much hair she has. Elastic that. So it's going to give you a better opportunity to just go in and pin it. Okay, great. So I got that elastic. Beautiful. I'm going to tighten it up. So I tighten that up, and I start to turn in terms of how do I want that placed. Okay, and you'll see how I'm going to place that. Let's take another elastic. So we come back through. Why another elastic? I discovered that it's easier to pin these things, especially when they get thicker. It's a lot easier to pin it. Now, Sam, do I need to work on my knees to do this? No, obviously not. You know what Sam's all about? We're all about you. We want you to see what it is that we're doing. If I have to go on my knees for you, then I'm on my knees for you, just for you, all right? Now, come through elastic that. So you can see if I elastic that, it's just going to make it a lot easier for me to just pin this. Now, I can come through, tie this in a knot. So I just tie this in a knot. Now fill in this side. So I just start to fill in where I want it. Excess ends, push them in. Okay, excess ends, I push in. Now I'm going to reach for my grips. So start to see how you want this placed. I want that a little bit higher. All right, great. Now, I hope that this has really inspired you to do things in a different way. But most importantly, start to think, say, and do differently. That's critical. Okay, let's get our grips. Okay, and we'll go with a long grip. Okay, now I've got a long grip. Now look at the grip, smooth in the toe. I don't want the smooth part up against the scalp. I want the toe part. So I'm going to come through. Where I hold is where I pin. So I come in and I pin. Okay, where I hold is where I pin. I take another long grip. Okay, look at the toe is kicked up. So I come through. Where I'm holding is where I am pinning. Okay, look at where I'm holding. Let's see where we're at on this side. All right, come through underneath. Going to go underneath, smooth part up against the head, and then back the opposite way. So I don't want that moving away from her head. Let's bring this guy up right here, right there. That's where I want that. So I'm just going to take that with a hairpin. But I don't want that hairpin to slide out there. So I'm going to come through and take a smaller hairpin. Okay, and I'm just going to fish hook that. So I'm just going to come through, just fish hook that. Okay, like that, because I want this up on that elastic. Now I come through, and with a fish hook, just use a pin like you normally would. Now that's not going to slide anymore. Okay, let's come through, just tighten up this side. We're going to come through with, once again, a very, very long grip. We're going to come through on the opposite side, and I just want to pin this opposite side here. So I come through, smooth part up against, and toe up against her head. Now I come through in my front and I start to look and see. Now watch how the braid is leading me into the tilted part of what we like to call a tilted slip tie. So I come back through and you just start to see how everything sits up the side, the path of your eye leans it to that side. And then once again, we're just a messenger. We just want to inspire you to think, say, and do things in a different way. In a moment here, I'm going to bring Andrew Carruthers back and bring the two models back, and we'll put some closure on this. But what's most important, my friends, is this, is that if we can do this, you can do this. You have to remember that. So please welcome back Andrew Carruthers, and let's take a look at our two finished looks again. And Andrew will bring them back out. All right, I'll take this from you. All right, over on this side, love. All right, we'll give you a different perspective. All right, Andrew, let's recap that.
All right, so again, you know, we built this off of really classic means. We went from just a simple graduated bob, and we used that really deep point cutting technique on horizontal sections to keep it very visual. And that, in and of itself, transformed it from what is a very classic shape into something very modern. But then with just those two little simple detached triangles, one sitting more forward towards the fringe, and one sitting more here in the crown,
Right behind you.
it added a whole fresh feel on top of that. And again, guys, you know, this might be something that maybe you see in a magazine and you're like, I'm not really sure where to go with it. I'm not sure that, you know, I have the techniques involved in creating this shape. Well, now you do. And what you realize is that you have all the tools. You know what you're doing. And a lot of it is just built off of the same fundamentals that we learn in hair school, we learn in foundations courses, and it's just finding fresh new techniques, you know, and that's what we want to bring to you. And hopefully we hit that point of this is something you feel like you can bring into your salon.
Thank you for that, Andrew. And recapping Kaylee over here. Remember, my friends, it's about the diamond. Okay, we're going to continue to work with the diamond all the way through. So what's really important is that you understand how important diamonds are and what they can do for you in terms of giving you a different perspective in the crown areas. I really think that the diamonds fit into the message in terms of us tilting things upside down. So the diamond this season, next season, tilt it further back so it sits further back, and then watch the sense of graduation that you get here, and you'll start to see how there might be a small detachment here in terms of what I did underneath. Okay, but she has a lot of options in terms of how she can wear this. She could pull all of this back. Okay, if she pulls all this back, and you know I've been on this story about double identity and just giving clients double identity. So she could probably pull all this back, and then as she just starts to work with it, she could get a little soft little shape that maybe does something like this. I've been into this kick, Andrew, for a long period of time in terms of pulling things back and just giving the client a different opportunity to create different types of things. Take your head down. Now watch. When I do this, you start to see the sense of a detachment that takes place, but it's a very soft detachment in terms of how that diamond works. She can take this forward, she could take it back. I really believe that sooner or later you're going to start to see it. You're seeing it now, how clients are really starting to take things back and away. Then look at the profile. I don't want this to have such that big little bump, Andrew, that you've been seeing. And I don't want that so Jennifer Aniston. So notice how this one sits more straight up and down. Once again, it's the idea of tilting that diamond back, and then the angle that you're cutting to leave more length that drops into that, so you don't get that concave shape into that. Sincerely hope that you've enjoyed this, but we have a lot of people that we need to thank. First of all, I really want to thank Madison Avenue Salon and Day Spa. We were allowed to go into that salon and prep all of these girls that we did for you this evening. We went in there and prepped them. So I want to give a shout out to all the team members there, to Erica and to Ty. Thank you so much for helping us out with the color. But a very special lady there at Madison Avenue, and that's Elaine Van Loo. Elaine, we love you because of what you do for us. You know, it's not, a team is not made of a group of individuals. A team is not made of a group of individuals, it's made of a team of individuals. And at Madison Avenue Salon and Day Spa, that's certainly a great team. I want to give a special shout out and a happy birthday wish to Olivia Chavez from Madison Avenue Salon and Day Spa, who was here throughout the day helping us and really getting us ready for this evening. But most importantly, guess what? All day today, we've been shooting some new hot tips for you, which we're really excited about that. Then we also want to extend a very special thanks to our lady that really works for us very heartily. You know her. You probably talked to her on the phone. That's our Leah Navarra. Without Leah, we wouldn't be able to do what it is that we do in terms of keeping us organized and getting us where we need to be. Who else do we need to thank?
Well, I think we need to especially thank Drea, too, because she jumped in right at the last minute. You know, we realized we needed an extra set of hands. Like Sam said, we've been shooting all day long. We've had a great day, and we've produced a lot of fresh video for you, and there's no way we could have done all this today without a lot of support from our friends.
Yes. I want to give a special shout out once again to Devin Fox, who was our lead colorist, who really was involved with that color and really helped us out in terms of getting the color where Andrew and I saw in terms of visual. And you can see what he did in terms of that, and just real special in that. I really want to thank Dan Dan, who is Dan Palhamas, our man who put this together for you in terms of live stream. This is something that we've been talking about and doing for you for a long period of time. We want to give a special shout out to Dan Palhamas who helped us out. Also, I want to thank our guys here at the studio, Square Pictures. A man that we happen to love, and that's Brad White. Brad White is the owner of Square Pictures. He's also very, very much involved with the Sandia brand. He's a partner within the Sandia company. But without Brad, we wouldn't be able to give you the visuals that we give you, the education that we give you. You know, these AV guys that do all the shows and these camera guys, they just don't get a shout out. And without them, we could not do it with them. So I really want to thank all of the guys on the set here in terms of what you did for us. A special shout out to Brad White. We love you, my friend. And then once again, what could we do without these lovely, lovely ladies? These ladies are special to us. They're not only models, but to us, they're human beings. And at Sandia, we treat them not as models, but we treat them as clients. We go in there and we find out what are your needs and expectations, and we work with their needs and expectations. And you will always see us doing that. Lastly, and maybe you might think of someone else, but I have a special lady out there that I want to give a shout out who is really behind the scenes of Sandia, but a lady that has taken Sandia brand to another level. And I'll never forget when she came up to me and she said, I want to be part of your team. I can help you and you can help me. And that's the beautiful, beautiful, creative muse that we are so fortunate to have, and that's Geneva Cowan in Alaska, who won NAHA for Editorial Stylist of the Year. Geneva is the one that creatively makes it happen for Sandia. Without Geneva, we visually wouldn't be where we're at. And we love what Geneva's doing for us because she leads our photo shoots, she leads our visuals, she's the eye, that creative muse that we go to that really helps us out and bringing us some great visuals. You'll see her out on the road once in a while, and when you see her, do go up to Geneva and thank her because we at Sandia love her. She's the artistic director for Sandia, and we're so fortunate to have her. Did we miss anybody, my friend?
Did we miss Marissa?
Yes. Let's talk about Marissa.
Yeah, so Marissa Villa is actually Sam's niece, and she has been helping us out here in Phoenix for a very long time. And this time she had a special responsibility for us. She was in charge of making sure that these girls got styled out wardrobe, made sure that they had the perfect makeup. And guys, look at this. These, you know, of course, yeah, these kinds of girls are not hard to make look beautiful, but Marissa just really took it to another notch. And it's really cool to have family here on the set with us.
Yes, it is. And Marissa, I love you, my dear. Thank you for doing what you do. Keep doing what you do. I know you're working really hard. Remember, I once was where you were at. So all it is just take patience. So I don't want you to forget lastly about the Redken Symposium, which is taking place January the 25th through the 27th. If you've never been to a Redken Symposium, you need to be there. Please, trust me. You've trusted me for so many years. Trust me. Get to the Redken Symposium. You have an opportunity to choose 6 classes from about 26 classes. It's amazing what you can choose from. I'm so excited because I'm going to be standing on stage with the incomparable Chris Barron. I mean, what can I say about Chris Barron? For the first time together, we're going to be standing on stage. It's been probably, I think it's been maybe 16, 18 years. But I'm so fortunate and so very proud and honored to be standing with Chris Barron. We've got some exciting things for you planned at the Las Vegas Symposium, January 25, 27. Remember, be a part of it. Lastly, Andrew, any closing remarks?
Well, I think we actually did forget to thank one more person.
Please.
And it's actually people, and it's you guys.
Thank you.
Because really, we get to do what we love.
Go ahead, buddy.
Sorry.
You'll get it out.
I get a little choked up because... Sorry.
That's all right, brother. I know where you're coming from because you know why? Because we care.
And education is such an important part of our lives, and it's a huge passion of mine. And I really do appreciate so much the people that paid to be here tonight through this education program, because Sam, you and I don't get to be here without them.
That's correct, my friend.
Thank you.
But most of all, Andrew, I want to thank you for being who you are. You can see why he's a member of this team, and so fortunate to have him as education director. Lastly, my friends, I leave you with this. Andrew and I stand before you as 2 men. But most importantly, we stand in front of you as 2 human beings that choose to share the passion this industry has to offer. We are not visionary. We're not inventors. We're not genius. We're educators at Sandia. That's what we are about. Over the past 39 years, what people have chosen to share with me and give to me, to give to Andrew in the amount of years that he's been in this industry, we choose to give it back to you. And we will continue to do that at Sandia. So we stand before you motivated by the passion to teach, and we will continue to do that, my friends. So remember, at Sandia, we love you. Thank you so much for your support. We're going to exit, Andrew and I. We're going to leave the models here. They're just going to be doing little turns, soft little turns for you as we exit so you can see them one more time. God bless you. Thank you for your time. And most of all, thank you for your investment. Andrew, love you, brother.
Love you too, brother.
We'll work together again. Take care. We'll leave you with the models.